Hello and welcome back. Today I'm feeling cozy, so we'll be painting colorful pumpkins and gourds. I'm working in my large watercolor sketchbook and using watercolor brush pens, as well as a paintbrush. A smaller one is a Princeton Heritage. I'll link everything down below if you want to use the same items. And some clean water in my big water jug. These pumpkins and gourds are really fun to create because you can use any color you like. I'm going to start with a traditional pumpkin in orange, and you can see here I'm just drawing in the segments. Pumpkins are one of my favorite things to paint and draw because they can be as weird and wonky as you want them to be. And if you've seen any of my other videos, you know that I love wonky things. So here you can see that I have just drawn the outline of the pumpkin, and I'm using the clean water to spread the color out a little bit. What I like about these watercolor markers is that you can spread the color a bit, but it retains some of the outlines, which helps the pumpkin keep its shape. Obviously, you can use any materials you like to make these pumpkins. The technique just will be a tiny bit different depending on what materials you use. I like to make all of the stems of the pumpkins and gourds twist and turn in different directions. So you can see I'm doing that here with this one. I'm starting with a lighter brown, and I'll go in later and add some more details. The pumpkin looked just fine the way it was, but I wanted to add a little bit more dimension, so I went in after I created the stem and added some segments behind it. What was nice about these brush pens is that I found that I didn't have to rush to wet them to get the colors to spread. I could pause for a minute, which made it a bit more of a relaxing experience. The layering was my favorite part of this project, picking out different colors to put on top of each other. It was really fun with the brush pens because I could blend them together, but I think this would work really well with colored pencil, definitely regular watercolor, and maybe even Posca too, so let me know what you decide to use. When I first started drawing and painting pumpkins, I remember just making them a flat orange color, maybe adding a little darker color on the bottom for some shading. But then if you look really closely at a pumpkin or a gourd, there's so many little different marks and colors in the skin of the pumpkin, and that's what I tried to reproduce with the ones I'm creating here today. I'm adding brown here, sometimes I'll add green. I throw some crazy purples in there. Just wait till the end and I have some really fun ones to show you. I think I paint pumpkins every year in autumn. I also love to bake, and sometimes I pull out my sewing machine. I actually did that this week. And I was wondering, is there something that you like to make or create or draw every year at the same time? Please let me know in the comments below. I know pumpkins are relatively easy to draw and paint. I could have spent a lot less time on this one. I think it took me about 5 or 6 minutes. But the point of this was not to finish quickly. It was to really enjoy what I was doing. If you didn't see my post last week, I was ill. And before that, my sons were ill. And it felt really nice to get back in my sketchbook. So this was my way of loosening up my rusty hands and working slowly. I put on a cozy movie and tried to relax and get back into the swing of things. I didn't love the shape of this gourd at first, so I used my water and I spread the paint around to the point where you really couldn't see the shape as well. And you'll see it's so easy to go in and add more layers and to manipulate it a bit to something that you like a little bit better. I think one of the colors I used the most in these gourds and pumpkins was actually brown. And there were some really colors that I would normally think are kind of ugly, like a camo green. but put in the right place, they actually work magic. So get in there, experiment with the weird and ugly colors, and see what you come up with. Case in point, here is a lime green I picked up on a whim, and I think it really tied this gourd together. It just worked for me. Let me know what you think in the comments. Here's another example of where I wasn't quite happy with the shape and size of the mark I made, so I went in with water right after I made the circle bigger and just blended in together. And you'll see it really transforms. All of these transform from the beginning shape and the beginning color, so you never know what you're going to end up with. They usually start out pretty odd looking in the beginning and end up looking great in the end. Clearly, I've drawn pumpkins and gourds before, so I'm used to the shapes that come with it. If you're not, I'd suggest taking a reference image and kind of mimicking it as best you can. And the more and more you create, the easier and more intuitive the shapes will become. I tried to color this one like a Cinderella pumpkin. I don't know if you've seen those, where they're silvery and less bright orange than the others. And it made me curious, do you buy pumpkins? And if you do, which ones do you choose and why? Do you choose the big weird ones or the cute tiny ones? Our family is a mixture. Our kids really love the big orange ones, of course, and I like the weird bumpy gourds. I buy a lot of those for our table in the dining room. Another one of my favorite parts of creating the sketchbook page was making the vines, as I'm doing here. This is not a sponsored post, but I really like these watercolor pens because of the super fine tips. With a light touch, you can make a really skinny, curly Q vine coming off your pumpkin, and I think it makes them look a lot more whimsical. Depending on how wet your paper gets from blending in colors and outlines, you may have to jump from pumpkin to pumpkin and let it dry a little before adding details. You'll see here that I stop midway through this pink pumpkin and I return to it a little bit later. Since I think I've covered the general idea of how to create these pumpkins and gourds, I'm going to quit talking for a little while and let you enjoy the music and hopefully paint with me. I'll be back for some notes here or there, but enjoy, and I'll see you at the end of the video. I'm back at the pink pumpkin, adding some darker details. It's finally dry enough so that all the colors don't bleed together. And this crazy magenta really makes it pop. I'm calling this my ugly duckly pumpkin because I wanted it to have a really weird shape. So I took a reference image off the web and I decided to work on something that didn't really look like a traditional pumpkin. And I'm really glad I worked through it because at first I wasn't sure it was going to work out. You'll see how it turns out in just a moment. Let me know what you think. Now that I've filled the page, I'm adding some final touches. I had so much fun with those vines that I'm just adding a bunch more to fill in the white spaces of the page. I'd really love to know if you have a favorite and which one it is. I don't think I can decide just yet. I might have to take another look. I really did like working with the purple colors though, because it was so different. And let me know if you do this project as well, what your favorite one turned out to be. And if you enjoy autumn-themed sketchbook pages, please let me know. There's something I love to do. If you like them too, I'll get to work on making more. As always, thanks for joining me. I really love creating art with you. It's so much fun to have you here. And if you've made it to the end of the video, I really appreciate you and your comments and your likes and your subscribes. I'm so grateful to have you with me, and I hope you have a wonderful week. See you soon.